What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode review for Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2. This is episode 8, and with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
Yep. And of course, I guess you could say the official start of the Shibuya incident. Pretty much, it's all hands on deck with all the Jujutsu sorcerers going up against Geto and his underlings.
Yeah. So, of course, this kind of picks up where the last episode left off, where the barrier was erected around Shibuya. And we kind of follow Geto as he's or not Geto, but Gojo as he's investigating, investigating what's going on in Shibuya, and all the people that have been trapped inside. And we kind of get an explanation from one of the, I don't think the character has a name, but she's basically explaining to Yuji and, I forget what her name is.
You sure it's not Mimi, or is it?
Well, she's explaining to Mei and Yuji about how the barrier works and how there's different layers to the barrier, and how I guess people who are non-jujutsu sorcerers were sort of like chased down into I think it was like basement level 5 or something, like below ground, by I think transfigured humans.
Yeah, and of course, and because of the whole transfigured humans thing, that Yuji, of course, realizes that Mahito is somewhere nearby.
Yeah, which I actually don't remember if Yuji even knows what his name was, because when he hears Mahito's name, he's like, oh, that's the guy that killed fuck, I forgot his name too. Killed that one guy.
It was one of Yuji's friends that Mahito ended up transfiguring into a cursed being. So Yuji, of course, realizes that that Mahito is somewhere in Shibuya, but he ends up confronting like this grasshopper like cursed spirit.
Well, yeah, I mean, he thinks he's a grasshopper at first, but then of course we eventually learn he's actually a locust.
Yeah, I mean, of course, Yuji manages to, take him down. Like after, I guess, I wouldn't say it was much of a fight. It just showcases how strong Yuji's gotten ever since the events of season 1.
I guess there were some people that were kind of complaining on social media about this one scene, because I actually just saw it before I watched the episode itself, but. Yeah, I mean, the scene up until that point looked pretty good. I didn't really have any complaints about it. I mean, it looked fine. But like you said, it's not really too much of a fight scene. Yuji was just kind of like, they're kind of chasing each other around, and then at one point Yuji just kind of hits him with a barrage of punches, and that's kind of where things. Well, the animation itself looked fine, but it's more so I guess people are calling it the ghosting effect that. Didn't look so good, which sort of just looked like some kind of a filter that was put over it, because I feel like without that filter, it kind of creates this like blur effect. I feel like without that, it would look fine, because it just seems like the blur makes it look really bad. I mean, maybe it's something they'll remove in the Blu-ray release, but it could just be something they did for the television broadcast or something, but. It really did. I mean, it didn't look terrible, but it didn't look that good. I do feel like some people are kind of overreacting about it, because I don't think it looked, like I said, it didn't look terrible, but I do agree it's not, it doesn't look good. I mean, I feel like it kind of, like I said, without it, I think it would look fine.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't something new that Mappa's done. Like, Mappa's done this in like all their other shows, like Chainsaw Man, and of course, most recently Attack on Titan. I mean, yeah, like you said, it's something that Mappa will probably likely fix once they release this on Blu-ray sometime in the near future.
Yeah, we should also point out too that we kind of get, I mean, because we don't really know too much about Mei as a character, but we sort of get more of an impression of her personality in this episode, I suppose, or just, I guess, her weird interactions with, I think it's supposed to be her little brother, who's like tagging along with her. Yeah, so they kind of, so basically, like, they sort of have these like weird interactions where he's basically just completely just subservient to her, I guess, and just is it gets on Yuji anytime he doesn't really just is completely sort of just praise her or has anything negative to say. So it's kind of interesting because we've only really seen her for the most part. We haven't seen her brother at all. So there's some interesting interpretations, I guess, you could take away from their interactions, but I don't really want to say anything else about that because I kind of do know some spoilers in regards to that. But yeah, you can already kind of get the gist of what their relationship potentially might be just based on the way they talk to each other. But yeah.
Yeah, well, of course, we do transition back to Gojo, who's investigating the subway area crowded with civilians, and of course, he ends up meeting with most of Ghetto's underlings. I think what was it? It was like it's that fire cursed demon. I think it's can't remember his name. It's
and then there's him, and then there's the one with the weird like horns sticking out of his head. Which I'm not sure if it's a guy. It might be a woman. I'm not exactly sure, just based on his voice. But there's also this other person who I don't think I've seen before that's with them. That kind of has this like mark on his face.
Yeah. Well, most of the fight between Gojo and the cursed spirits. Well, it kind of transitions like back and forth between the spirits' conversation with Geto, explaining how Gojo will end up using his abilities. What was it? Using his gate, and of course he takes Geto's advice of wanting to like go after civilians in order to goad Gojo into using his abilities.
Yeah. Basically what happens is Gojo at first thinks they're trying to trap him by erecting these like barriers around him, but it ends up that they're trying to trap all these people inside, these non-sorcerers, because they kind of have them sort of like corralled around Gojo and where they're sort of in the way of anything bad that could happen to them. So that way Gojo has to hold back and not do anything that could potentially harm any civilians. But of course, a lot of them do end up just getting killed by some of Geto's minions, I suppose. Like they just end up getting slaughtered.
Yeah, they just deliberately do this because, of course, that like I said, that's what Geto told him to do, in order for Gojo to take off his blindfold and then prepare to take the rest of the fight seriously.
Yeah, because we do get a flashback sequence where Geto explains like what his plan or what his strategy was.
Yeah, and he said like that they need to keep Gojo busy for at least 20 minutes while he prepares some kind of ability to potentially seal Gojo's ability.
Yeah. But of course, at the end of the episode, we see like Gojo's taking his blindfold off, and he's about to do something, but we're not really sure what. Of course, Gojo kind of always has some kind of trick up his sleeve.
Yeah.
So, I mean, who knows?
I mean, he's potentially going to use that same ability against like against these. Well, if you remember, like Gojo fought one of these guys before. And used his ability, but he didn't really kill him at that point.
He fought the guy with the volcano head before, where he used some like domain expansion, or I think the volcano head guy might have used this as domain expansion against them. But yeah, I don't remember exactly. I think Gojo did use something against him.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe he'll pull that out again, but I mean, who knows? Gojo's always like, you never know what he's gonna do. But yeah, I mean, I thought overall this was a pretty decent episode, aside from just that one part where they use that weird ghosting effect. Other than that, I thought it looked fine. I mean, even the ghosting effect, it doesn't look terrible, but I do hope it's something that they take out in the actual Blu-ray release, because I feel like it would look a lot better without it.
Yeah. Overall, this episode was all right. it's not as like as good as it was during like that whole Mekamaru fight against Maito in the last two episodes.
Yeah.
But I thought this I mean this is a decent way to continue on with that storyline, starting with the whole Shibuya incident.
Well, I also thought it did a pretty good job of setting the tone of the arc too, because it sort of just showed how people could easily just get killed, or just that pretty much it's anybody's could die, I suppose, at this point in the story. I mean, there all these people are just getting killed like left and right, so I feel like it's sort of setting us up for any other potential character deaths by just showing how these normal people are getting completely just slaughtered.
Yeah,
Uh,
and
so
it's of course Jujutsu Kai's like role to keep that from happening, but with the the scale of how bad things are potentially moving forward, I mean they have no choice. They have to bring everybody in
yeah,
to stop this from happening.
yeah. But I don't really have anything else to say about the episode. I don't know if you do.
Yeah, it was a good episode. Like you said, other than that little like ghosting effect that they ended up using for whatever reason, I mean, I'm hoping that they end up fixing it later, possibly during the Blu-ray release, or maybe I don't know, fixed during the the
Yeah,
streaming broadcast
because
thing.
Mappa has been known to change some things like that in their Blu-ray releases for the shows they work on, Attack on Titan, for instance.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but overall, I am liking where the overall storyline is headed. Even though this entire arc is gonna last throughout the entirety of like the remainder of this first core and the second core.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, guys. So that all being said, until next time, we will see you all later.